What's going on, guys? I've seen some new 2022 films and I want to talk about them. The films we're going to be talking about today are X, Pearl, Don't Worry, Darling, and Barbarian. Now, in the order I've seen these films, it was X, Don't Worry, Darling, Pearl, and Barbarian. But I'll talk about in that order: X, Pearl, Don't Worry, Darling, and Barbarian, because X and Pearl are related. I have a lot to say on Don't Worry, Darling, and Barbarian, I have stuff to say about that film. And I'm gonna see how this angle works. With all the posters in the back and not showing the table this time, a little bit of my shirt, whatever. We'll see how this goes. So let's talk about X, directed by T West. I believe that's how you say his name. I don't know. It's T.I. West. T West. So this film is about a group of people who want to go make a porno at this house, like a house that's on a ranch owned by this couple, this old couple. And some crazy shit happens after that. And I liked X. X was cool. It definitely had some very unnerving and creepy vibes to it. It was never truly scary, but there are aspects of it that are creepy. There are some cool kills in there, and I do like what they do with the play on sex, because the fact that they're making a porno in this film, and a lot of horror films, there's big aspects of sex in them, because it's just about certain characters having sex. Will they live? Will they die? And there's been a lot of movies over the years that just have sex in them for the sex appeal, and then they just get killed off. And the way sex plays in this film is actually really good, because they have a lot of discussions about it. Not just about it being in horror films, but just about sex in general. And I like what they do with that. I like how they mess with certain tropes of sex in films, as well as just horror films in general. And I somewhat like the pacing of the film. I think it starts a little slow, but once it hits the middle of the film, then the more interesting stuff happens. It takes a while to get to the meat of the film, but once we get to that point, once the more fucked up shit starts to happen, then the film gets more enjoyable. But then it kind of teeters downwards a little, because it is rather slow once we get to the meat of the film. It does take a while for more things to happen. And although I liked the film, I liked its creepy and unnerving vibes, there are certain things I didn't like about it. More so than the pacing. I thought it was a little silly at points, and I get it. It's a fun play on horror films, but I just found certain aspects a little too silly. More specifically, certain kills are a little too silly for me. I won't say what they are in case you haven't seen it, because I do not want to spoil this movie for you guys. And I did like it, but there's not so much for me to say on it, because it is a fun and enjoyable horror film. I do like some kills. I mean, I like all of the kills. It's just that some of them were a little too silly, and I liked how violent this film could get. I like how bloody and gory certain kills are, and it's really enjoyable. But overall, X was enjoyable. X was good. On a technical aspect, on a filmmaking aspect, it looks really good, and I like a lot of the editing in it, because certain things are happening at the same time, and they both correlate with each other. They both have certain things going on. More specifically, when they're filming the porno, and when something else is happening on the farm with another character and one of the older characters in the film. But overall, I did enjoy X. I sort of reviewed it on my Letterboxd. I didn't want to. I didn't want to do a long review on it. I want to see if there are certain things I said in there that I might want to say here, though, because it was enjoyable. I just don't have so much to say on it, because it is a good horror film. I like the kills. It looks and sounds great. I like a lot of the music choices, and The music was good. The score, I mean, the score was good at points, just not super memorable. And one more aspect, this film isn't afraid to show certain things, like the sex stuff in it. It's not afraid to show certain things involving sex. And I like that because it is a smaller film. It's an A24 film. It made its money back, I believe, and then some. And there are certain things it shows involving the sex that some viewers who aren't akin to these kinds of films will find a little disturbing and a little weird, because it's not normal to see stuff like that, because that kind of stuff involving this sex wouldn't sell. But I found it enjoyable, not because like it turned me on, like, I'm liking that. No, it's cool because it's weird to see. And I think it works out in the end, and especially how Pearl plays into it. I'll talk about Pearl right after this. So, X, I don't believe there's much to say else. I'll give X a B. It was really, really enjoyable as a fun little horror film. Let's see if I can put my chair up a little. I'm just doing this on a fly. I don't want to do a lot of editing in this because I just have a lot of thoughts to say on these movies, more specifically Pearl and Don't Worry Darling. Really? This is how high the chair can go? Oh well. So X, a B. It was good. It was enjoyable. I don't regret watching it. It was a fun horror film to watch, and it gave us Pearl. So let's talk about Pearl. Also directed by T. West. And Pearl was stunning. It was beautiful. It was magnificent. It was everything I didn't expect. It was everything I wanted and everything I didn't know I wanted, because wow. Okay, let's talk about Pearl. Pearl is about the character Pearl in X. She is the older woman of this older couple. And it's about her when she was younger in, I believe, 1918. And how do I really describe the plot of this film? She wants to be a dancer, but she's not right in the head. She yearns for more in life, but because she's been so isolated from everyone, because she's been on this farm with her mother and caring for her disabled father, her very sick father, she hasn't had a lot of time to interact with people. And all she knows is this farm life. But seeing these movies with the girls dancing and stuff, it's something she yearns for. It's something she wants so dearly in life. And she will do anything to reach that goal. And, Pearl was, on a filmmaking aspect, Pearl was almost perfect. It looks stunning. The colors are so dazzling and they're so bright and it pops out at you. And it's fun to see because there's a lot of things in Pearl that are shown in X. So it's fun to see these certain things basically reinvented, because in X, everything's all busted down and dark and dreary. But in Pearl, everything's so bright and lively. And there's certain shots that reminisce X. And it's, wow, I can't say enough about how beautiful this film looks. It is stunning. The colors pop out. The direction is great. The shot composition, the framing, the way the camera moves around. It's all stunning. The acting, especially by Mia Goth. All the performances are great in the film, but Mia Goth as Pearl, I believe that's her name. She was absolutely stunning and dazzling and mesmerizing. She evokes so much emotion, and you really feel for this character, even though you know the things she does in this film are not good at all, but you understand and you can sympathize with her, mainly because of this long and unbroken take of her just talking in a monologue. Well, she's talking to someone, but it becomes a monologue. it just becomes a monologue when she's just speaking her mind about all these things that she's feeling. And a friend told me about that specific piece before I watched it. And then when I watched it, I thought, oh shit, this is that moment. And I can't believe it's actually going on for this long and that she's actually doing this. It was, I can't believe it. It was mesmerizing. My jaw was open, wide open. And I thought, she is stunning in this film. And she is killing it in this role. She was good in X, but in this film, she is breathtaking. That monologue alone, and there's so much more to it than that monologue scene. There's so many lines and so many scenes of her just talking and doing things that are just mind-blowing. And you, even before that monologue scene, you can sympathize with the character. You can understand what she's going through. But in that specific moment, she's amazing. She really is. And wow. Aside from that, though, because I know I was droning on about that, but it is my favorite part of the film, I believe. But aside from that, there are kills in this film. And all the kills are bloody, gory, fun, and it's exciting. This was a really good movie. I want to say it's top 5 for me so far this year. It was just people are calling it Wizard of Oz meets like any horror film, and I can totally see that because of the time period, because of the more specifically the time period, and just the colors popping out, and how fucked up this film gets with its kills and what it shows. I'm not sure what else I can say about it, really, without spoiling it, because it is enjoyable. And Mia Goth gives so much of herself to this role. These long, unbroken takes. There's multiple scenes like that where she is giving it her all and then some. And like I said, all the other performances are great. And also, one thing I wanted to point out too, the score. It fit the tone of this film. It fit the time period of like these movies that came out around this time or framed around this period. And then it just turns into something creepy and unnerving. And it's all beautiful. All the score pieces that I heard in the film were just beautiful. Because at points it was something beautiful, and then it just turned to something sick and twisted. And it totally fits the tone of not just the film, but also the time period. And it just matches the tone of the film, even without the score. It is something truly special. This film is amazing. I can't praise it enough. I loved the pace of the film. But overall, it was just so damn enjoyable. I'm teetering more so on a or an A-. But if I wanted to put a stake in it, if I wanted to, for the sake of this video, I think I'd be teetering more towards an A-. It is so close to an A for me, but it takes just a tad time to get to certain parts. But overall, it was just a phenomenal, breathtaking, fantastic film. Even the birds are agreeing with me. They're loving this film too. Okay, X and Pearl. 2 good films, one extremely better than the other. Now let's talk about a very, very, very underwhelming yet beautiful looking film, Don't Worry Darling, directed by Olivia Wilde, starring the goddess known as Florence Pugh and the newcomer in acting, Harry Styles. There was a lot of press around this film, and you most likely seen that interview with Harry Styles and Chris Pine. And Harry Styles is going, "What I love about this movie is that it feels like a movie," and people making memes about that and stuff. And so people are dogging on Harry Styles. But he's not the problem with this film. I thought Harry Styles did a good job. All the acting, all around, by every cast member, Harry Styles, Florence Pugh, Chris Pine, everyone did a good job. Florence Pugh, of course, giving it her all and then some. Harry Styles did a good job as well. He was not bad at all. There's nothing I found unconvincing about his role, except a certain aspect of him and Florence Pugh's character's relationship. I'll get to that, but let me describe the plot first. So the film is about this couple and a bunch of people living in this project area in, I believe, Nevada or something. I don't know exactly where it takes place. I don't remember. But they're living in this desert-like area, and all the women stay home and all the men go and work. And it's themed after 1950s-esque living. The housing, the cars, the clothing. It's all there. So the men leave. They do this job at this project while the women stay home and clean and cook, yada yada. And they have these parties and everything. But something strange is afoot. Florence Pugh is starting to see things, and strange things are happening to her in her house. And it's very unnerving for her. And there's another character who also experienced this, but no one believed her. And Florence Pugh didn't want to believe her because she wanted to fit in with the rest of the society of the characters, of the women and all the men and stuff. But all these weird things are happening, and she's trying to figure out why. And she's trying to figure out why no one else believes her. That is all I'll say about the plot of the film. I want to spoil this film, but I'll talk about certain things before I go into spoilers. So I think the film looks great. It's sharp, it's crisp, the colors pop out, the cinematography is great. I love a lot of the framing of certain scenes. It does not look bad in any rights. The production design, the set design, it's all there. It looks great. I love the look of this film. I love the feel of this film, more specifically this 50s-esque vibe. It looks great. All the performances are good. Chris Pine does a good job. He does his best, but his character falls apart after a while. Harry Styles, he does a good job. People are dogging on him and saying that he's part of the reason why the film doesn't work. I didn't think he did a bad job at all. He was pretty convincing at moments. But Florence Pugh, of course, being the goddess that she is easily the best part of the film. And if she wasn't in it, if Florence Pugh was not in this film would be a complete disaster, more so than it already is. But she does her best, and she makes the film much more bearable. There is a certain aspect about their relationship. So she plays Alice and Harry Styles plays Jack. And they have a lot of cute scenes together. Their relationship seems so believable. But there's a certain aspect that I found unconvincing and unbelievable where they kiss, but it doesn't look like they're really kissing each other. And I found that a little off-putting. Because I'm like, wow, they love each other so much that they don't even want to kiss each other. They just want to get right to the love making and shit. Their kisses just weren't convincing to me. So that kind of threw me off. But everything else about how cute they are with ech other and how much they love each other, it's all there. And I really enjoyed it. All the acting's great. The score, except with the score is good when it doesn't have all the female chanting and sharp breathing, because that I found that to be so unnecessary and pointless and overbearing, and it felt like it wanted to make the film seem more creepy than it wants to be, than it says it is, when it's not creepy at all. Because of the reveal later on in the film. Damn, this was just I was so looking forward to this film because all the trailers looked good, and I didn't know what to expect. But the reveal of the film is what kind of kills it for me, especially the lead up to the film, because it has a very, very, very slow and strange setup. And the plot progression is also very strange. One scene leading to the next, why certain things are happening. They just kind of don't make sense to me. And it's so bizarre that I don't know, man. Okay, let's get into spoilers now because if you don't want to be spoiled by this film, click to this right here. I'm gonna put it right here. This time point in the video. If you don't want to be spoiled by this film, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So, Florence Pugh starts to see all these weird things in this film. She sees a red plane crash over the mountains. And so she leaves this area in which they're not supposed to leave for their safety. But she doesn't find the mountain. Instead, she doesn't find the plane, but instead she finds the building which all the men go to work. She touches it and she wakes up at home. And everyone's like, "Oh, hi, Alice. You were home when I found you, yada yada." She's like, "What the hell? Where am I? Why am I here? Yada yada yada." And there's this funny moment where Harry Styles' character is trying to make mashed potatoes, and he doesn't boil the potatoes first, so he's trying to beat them with a mason jar or a wine bottle or something. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. It was silly and it was funny. But Alice, she's all like, "What the fuck? Why is no one believing me in this?" And so Harry Styles is all like, "Look, honey, you're probably not feeling well." And so there's this other character who no one believed in these weird things. She took her son out to this area which no one is supposed to go, where the men go to work. And her son went missing, basically. And she stayed there. And she doesn't know what happened to the son. Funny enough, that never gets touched on in the film later, where the son went. So, fuck that plot point. But Florence Pugh sees this character. She's going crazy. At this party, she goes, "We're not supposed to be here, yada yada. No one believes me." And so she just dips. And in the world, she slits her throat. And supposedly she's fine. The doctors say she's fine. And Florence Pugh's like, she slit her throat, but she gets taken away by these men in red suits and stuff. And also, she doesn't touch on the fact that men in red suits took her away to Harry Styles' character Jack. She just goes, "She slit her throat. I saw it. There was blood everywhere, yada yada." Also, I found that to be very funny. It wasn't creepy or scary in any way. It was just funny as hell when she slit her throat and just fell off the building. But yada yada. No one believes her about this stuff. But she doesn't bring up the fact that men in red suits took her away to Jack. Jack's like, "Honey, the doctors say she's fine. You're probably hallucinating and seeing weird things, yada yada." And so, do I even want to talk about this movie anymore? I have to. There's just a lot of... It's such a good-looking movie that I want to talk about it, and I love Florence Pugh. So anyways, we learn later on in the film that Florence Pugh reveals to Chris Pine's character, he's like the head of this organization, the head of this group, the project of people living there. And also, before I talk about that, I want to say that the film is very, very, very vague in certain aspects, such as the project they're working on, why they're all there, why the women can't go out there, why it's unsafe for them to go out there, and why there aren't any like security guards to stop the women from going out there or whatever. It seems so vague to keep the audience vague for the sake of it being vague, for the sake of not wanting to explain to you certain aspects. I found that to be very lazy. But at some dinner party, Chris Pine's character reveals to Florence Pugh's character, "I know you went out of the bounds, and I know you went to the headquarters, yada yada." And he's like, "I was looking for someone like you, someone to question all of this and why this stuff is happening." Earlier in the film, Florence Pugh was like trying to make eggs and bacon for breakfast, but there's nothing in these eggshells. She's like cracking them open and there's nothing there. And and then like she's cleaning these windows, and then it just smushes on her, and then like, and then it doesn't happen, like nothing happened. Um, the hallucin and then the red plane, all that stuff that happens makes zero fucking sense because it is never fucking touched on ever again, and there's no fucking explanation as to why it's happening. So back to Chris Pine. He's like, I know you wouldn't. I knew you did this, and I'm waiting for someone to question all of this. Yada yada. And so at the dinner party, she basically goes off on everyone. Like everyone. All these couples met the same on some train where someone dropped a ticket. Funny how everyone has the same story, right? And Chris Pine's trying to spin this weird story, yada yada. And he goes, Jack, we need to talk. And then when everyone left, Chris Pine's all like, I was disappointed in you. I expected more from you, Alice. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Why is he egging her on? And then when she does the thing he wants her to do, he goes, fuck it. You know, what the fuck? And so, and none of this makes sense when we figure out the reveal. So, Florence Pugh goes to Jack and she goes, Jack, we have to leave. Nothing is right in this place. Everything's fucked up. There's some doctor character who was looking at her after her hallucinations and shit, and he tries to give her some pills, but she doesn't want to take them because she is trying to see the world. And she steals files from his suitcase about the girl who slit her throat, and there's nothing there. It's all redacted, so she burns them. And fuck. Jack got some promotion at this party, and Florence Pugh was all like, she's talking to her best friend, and she's like, what the fuck's going on, yada yada. And the girl's like, you cannot do stuff about the girl is played by Olivia Wilde. She did a good job as this role, but she's all like, Florence Pugh, no, stop it. You can't do this anymore. You can't question this stuff, yada yada. And so they're not best friends for a while. So that's why she didn't get to go to this dinner party, and tensions arise with all the friends, whatever. Shit. So Alice tells Jack, we gotta leave. Nothing's right in this place. If you love me, it'll just be you and me. We'll leave together. We will never have to come back to this place. And Jack goes, okay. So they get in the car, but then it's a setup for the men in the red suits to take her away and do some stuff to her. And then we see a scene in which Florence Pugh is on a table, and then we look at a doctor who is also Florence Pugh. Bam! We're in a flashback, I believe, at this point. Or in the film, I'm thinking, holy shit, what's going on? Why is Florence Pugh a doctor, and why is Florence Pugh on the table? So, we're in this scene where Florence Pugh is a doctor. She goes home from work, and Harry Styles is like a loser. He doesn't have a job anymore. He got fired and shit. And he's listening to like true crime documentaries or whatever on YouTube. It's kind of silly and funny. And then after that, one thing I wanted to point out: Florence Pugh in the beginning of the film has this song stuck in her head, and it is a quite catchy and interesting theme to the film. Not like an overall theme, but more so like a piece of music theme to the film. It is catchy, and it is it's nice to listen. It's pleasant to listen to. She has this theme stuck in her head, and she can't get it out of her head. Also, she sees other hallucinations, like all these dance girls swinging all their legs in a circle like this, while they're all in a circle and they're all swinging their legs around like this, and a bunch of weird dance stuff going on, and a drop of blood and stuff. She's seeing all this stuff amidst her hallucinating more. And there's a scene where she puts saran wrap around her face. I don't get the point of that. I don't know exactly where I left off because my camera went over 30 minutes. Went to 30 minutes, the limit. But I'm gonna go back to Florence Pugh seeing these hallucinations where these drops. She sees like weird drops of blood. This is all after she's touched the headquarter base. She sees drops of blood. She sees all these girls in like a dance circle with their legs swinging up and like around like this. And it happens throughout the film. And there's a scene where she like puts saran wrap around her face. And it's like I said, I don't know what she was trying to do there. Maybe she was trying to test the limits of this world. But it was, I found that just to be a little strange. Like, thanks for explaining this to us. And stuff about her being underwater and her looking into the mirror, and when she goes into the bath, one version of the mirror looks back at her like it's not following the rest of the reflections. I don't know. None of this shit makes sense once we get to the reveal. I'll get to the reveal in a moment because I'm trying to spoil everything in this film because it's important to the reveal of the film. It's important to the fact that nothing fucking makes sense. So, Florence Pugh's character is a doctor. And Jack's all like upset, or Jack. We see like a version of Jack and a version of Florence Pugh in this world where she's a doctor and yada yada. He's upset because he doesn't have a job, and Florence Pugh didn't talk to her because she was a doctor working. Yada yada. I believe after that we cut back to Alice in the 1950s-esque project world where everything's hunky-dory, A-OK. And they have a party, everyone's happy, everyone's talking to each other. Everyone's like, Florence Pugh, I'm so happy you're back. How are you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling better, yada yada, yeah. And then Jack starts singing this song. It's a catchy melody, like it's with you all the time. It is a rather catchy melody, and this triggers the memories of Florence Pugh of her past life, and then she realizes that Jack signed them up for this project and put this weird machine on them where they live this world where they put these things on their eyes and it scans their eyes, and then they just live in this world. They live in this virtual reality world, essentially. And every time the men go off into the headquarters and they touch the headquarters base thing, they essentially just go back to the real world to do jobs, to be able to pay for this so they can live the life they want to live. And that's the theme of the movie. Live the life you want to live. And I get the point of the film. It's like that being one of the points of the film. Live the life you want to live. Because Florence Pugh's character never got a say in this. Florence Pugh's character, Alice, basically just got trapped in this. She wanted to be a doctor because she liked being a doctor, even though she worked all these crazy and insane hours. And Jack saw that as her being miserable, so he signed them up for this project, and he goes into the real world basically every day to, I guess, do a job out there to pay for them to be able to live in this reality world. So basically, when Alice touched the headquarters for the first time, she basically went to the real world, but people noticed and they put her back into the world. So they must have like done a quick operation on her when she touched it or something. So she doesn't realize that she went into the real world. It would have been nice to see something like that. Or to see some weird glimpses of that rather than these strange hallucinations. Oh yeah, to touch back onto the hallucinations, none of them make sense. It's not like the system is glitching out or something and her piece has an issue with it and it's making the world glitch around her. It's just she just sees this shit. There's no reason for her to see this shit. There's no explanation as to why she sees this shit. And if Chris Pine's character wants to keep them there, why is he egging her on to be like, I was expecting more from you. I want you to question this world. I was looking for someone. Why? If the point of them to be in this world is so they don't realize they're in this world so the men can go back and work, why? Why egg her on? Why try to do this? What, for the plot? So Florence Pugh can just keep egging it on and question more? Why have her question more? Because if her leaving, which her at the end she wants to leave, is such a big issue, why keep egging it on? Why? Fuck. God damn it. And then it becomes a big issue like, oh my god, Florence Pugh's getting to headquarters. It's like there's no one at headquarters to stop her. Like, it's like, oh my god, everyone chase her down. And also, she accidentally kills Jack because Jack is all like, I wanted you to live this life. I gave you all of this. when she realizes that they're in this world, and he's like hugging her too hard, so she like grabs a glass and like smacks him on the head, and he dies basically. And it's like, if you die in this world, you die in real life. So the girl who was hallucinating earlier died, basically. Even though the doctors and shit said she was okay. I don't know if I don't think she shows up throughout the film later on. But she's essentially dead, I guess. So Florence Pugh's like, oh my god, what the fuck? So she decides to go to headquarters and leave because Jack's dead and he can't stop her, and he's dead in the real world. And it turns out that her best friend, played by Olivia Wilde, I believe her name was like Kitten or Cat or something. I'm actually curious. What the fuck's her name? Bunny. Her name's Bunny. So her best friend Bunny is all like, I wanted this life. I chose this life because I can have my kids in this life. And she says, like, she explains like she had kids in the real life, but they're not there anymore. So like either like they're dead or something, or she probably had a miscarriage or something. So she has her kids in this world, even though they're not real. Yeah. So Florence Pugh decides to go to headquarters to touch it and leave this world and just live her regular life. And I don't get why Chris Pine wants to stop her. Because what's the problem of her not being in this world anymore? If she's not in the world questioning things, no one else is going to question things or question why she's questioning things and then question themselves. If she's just gone all of a sudden, then bam, she's gone. Why chase her down? Why let her go? Maybe it's because, we can't let her tell the world about what we're doing, yada yada. And then Chris Pine's wife just stabs him and they're like, you're a stupid man. I'm going to run things now. Okay. Bitch, you're on board with this. What? You're a part of this. What? Why? Fuck. And, so there's this cool chase scene. It looks cool. Where they're all driving the cars, going to headquarters. And then she just touches, like she hallucinates Jack, like, please stay with me. She's like, no, I'm living my life. She touches headquarters and she just basically goes back to the real world. And that's the end of the film. Yeah. Do I regret buying a ticket? No. It's always nice to see a new film. But it doesn't help that this film was very underwhelming. I like the idea of the twist, but getting to that twist, the slow pace, the plot progression, the way these scenes unfold, the way that these scenes don't make sense now because of the reveal, it's just so disappointing. And there's so much talent in this film, both behind the camera and in front of the camera. I can't praise the production of this film enough. I can't praise the acting enough. It's just that we got a very underwhelming film at the end. It is a beautiful looking mess. I will say that. Everyone does their best in the acting department. Everyone does their best in the filmmaking department. I like the camera movements. I like the framing. I like the direction. I like the tones of certain scenes, and I like the relationship between Jack and Alice. It's just that it is a very underwhelming film. I didn't know what to expect going into it. I was excited for it, actually. I thought, okay, we're going to see another very strange looking, feeling horror film, because ever since Midsummer, I'll watch anything Florence Pugh is in. I've yet to see Little Women, but I want to see it because Florence Pugh's in it. And man, I expected so much more of this film. I wrote a very, very long review on Letterboxd. Not a very long review. I just wrote a long review. Man, I really wanted to like this film, and I thought all the bad press around the film was just bad press. I thought it was going to be a bunch of baloney. But I just found this film disappointing and underwhelming and unsatisfying at the end. When I reviewed this on Letterboxd, I gave it a C-, because I don't regret watching it. I enjoyed the filmmaking aspects and the acting aspects of it. It's just the plot progression, the way scenes unfold, questioning certain things, how certain things don't just get answered or just get left behind. Those things just don't make sense. So I'm sticking with the C minus for this film. It's just, man, I was so hyped for this film. Not like how I'm hyped for like a superhero film or anything. I was just very excited to see this film because it looked weird, and I thought it'd be cool, but it wasn't. And yeah, I think it's making its money back, which is good. You know, I don't want. Maybe Olivia Wilde will learn from this. I don't know. I don't think she did a bad job helming the film in terms of the creation and the making of the film. It's the script, it's the story, and it's the flow of the film. An interesting setup, but everything after that is just so long and honestly boring at points. So yeah, I'll stick with a C minus. I don't hate this movie. It was just so underwhelming to me. All right, let's move on to the newest 2022 film I've seen. I gave it a very short review on Letterboxd. Barbarian. I don't understand why people like this hunk of shit. I'm so sorry. I really am. I know people are praising this film. I don't get it. This film is directed by Zach Kreger. I have not seen a Zach Kreger film. Is this his feature directorial debut? Let me see. I'm sorry. I just gotta look. I just gotta figure this out. It doesn't look like it's his directorial debut. I don't believe so. Yeah. Okay. This is not his directorial debut, I believe. From research, real quick. Barbarian is directed by Zach Kreger, and it tells the story. And I'm gonna quickly describe the plot as simple as I can, and then I will say certain things, and then I'll go into spoilers because I can't talk about this film without spoiling. So, two people book an Airbnb. They get double booked, and they're unsure of each other because they don't know who each other are. They don't know who one person doesn't know who the other person is, and vice versa. And it's strange because they got double booked. And then they find out some weird things about the house that they live in or that they're renting from. And this house is in a very sketchy, rundown neighborhood. That's all I will say about the plot of the film. Because that's all that was shown in the film, I believe. And I only saw this film because certain friends at work said, "Oh, I saw it. Not the best. Interesting though. Like enjoyable." So I'm thinking, okay. And then I saw the commercials and previews for it, like the scariest movie you'll see all year, and it shows the crowd reacting to it, like they're scared. I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be bad. Because what films show people reacting to the film in a theater like they're scared? I don't know what films do that anymore. Last I saw, that was for like Paranormal Activities or something. And so I'm like, okay, this might be bad. Let's go watch it. And I didn't like it. I fucking hate this movie. I think this is the biggest hunk of shit I've seen all year. Men had integrity. Jurassic World Dominion was fun. This movie is boring, slow, unintentionally funny at points. I'm not laughing with the film, laughing at the film because of certain camp elements. I'm laughing at the film. I'm really sorry. Like, I don't like hating on movies. I just totally don't understand the hype behind this film. It has a 92 critic score on the Rotten Tomatoes and a 71 audience score on the Rotten Tomatoes. And I never like looking at Rotten Tomatoes and going, yeah, I'm going to use that to base my judgment. I use it to see other people's opinions because I think it's interesting what other people think. Why else do I fucking talk about movies? So I can express my opinions. So, smart, darkly humorous, and above all, scary, which it is none of those things, Barbarian offers a chilling and consistently unpredictable thrill ride for horror fans. It is unpredictable, yes. The less you know going into Barbarian, the better. I guess so. But be prepared for an ending that might rub you the wrong way. Trust me. This ending did rub... The whole film rubbed me in a wrong way. Fuck you. Oh, fuck. I laughed so hard at this film throughout the film. Okay. It looks good. The performances are enjoyable. From like the very few people who are in the film. They do a good job. The setup is at least interesting. The setup that we're shown in the film about the people being double booked at an Airbnb is interesting. It is a nice setup. But once the things start happening and once we get into the meat of the film, then it completely falls apart for me. After that, it has very, very strange pacing. So now we're going to get into spoilers for this film. If you don't want to hear spoilers for this film, click to this time frame in the video. That's your warning. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So Barbarian, these two characters, I'm going to say the characters' names, or at least their actors. Georgina Campbell plays Tess, and Bill Skarsgård plays Keith. Justin Long is in the film. He plays his character named AJ. So Tess and Keith get double booked at this Airbnb, and they're like, what the fuck? So they're very sus of each other, to use that word. They're very sus of each other, but they grow a quick bond after a while. They grow a quick bond, and they form this small friendship. And so when she leaves for an interview and Keith leaves the house, she goes back to the neighborhood, and this guy's chasing her down, and he goes, lady, you don't get in that house, lady. And like she's all scared and shit, so she gets into the house and locks herself in, tries to call the police, and the police are like, we don't have any available units to go over there. So and I found the whole police stuff funny as fuck in this film because the police are so incompetent and inept in this film. I mean, at least the character called 911, but then 911 was just like, nah, fuck you, lady. She's all like, there's this guy who chased me and I'm in this house, but he's not there anymore. And the lady's all like, the dispatcher's like, we don't have any available units to go to your place. I'm sorry, ma'am. And so she goes to the restroom and then finds there's no toilet paper. So she looks around for toilet paper, and then she goes downstairs into the basement. And it turns out the door locks, or the door closes, but she can't get out. And so I'm thinking, that's strange. Why can't she? Some weird things happen earlier in the film where she's sleeping for the first night, and the door creaks open, and Keith is like sleep dreaming, or he's having like a nightmare in his sleep. Never touched on again because fuck you, and fuck this movie. The why the door opens in the middle of the night, never touched on again. Fuck you and fuck this movie. So doors opening and closing are a thing that happened in this film. So the door to the basement closes by itself, and she can't get out, and she can't open the window to get out because there's like a window on the bottom of the house, like showing the basement that you can open and get out from. So she can't do that. And so when Keith comes home, he opens it. He gives her the key. He opens the door, and then they get out. Oh, also while she's down there, she opens this. She finds a string that opens this like door that goes further into the basement with a tunnel. And she goes, nope. Like, nope, I'm not going down there. But she gets curious as to what's down there, so she uses a mirror. Like, this is why the first act is interesting. At least she uses a mirror to shine a light from a light bulb into this tunnel area. She goes down there further, and then she finds like a base. She finds another room with like an old bed, a camera, and a bucket. So she is freaked the fuck out. So she wants to leave, and then Keith shows up. She wants to leave, and then Keith goes, no. I want to see this first. If you want to leave, go ahead, but don't leave without me. I want to see this place first. So he goes, but then he doesn't come back, and she's like, Keith, where are you, Keith? And then he's like, help me. And it turns out there's another area in this tunnel place. So, yeah, there's this another area in this tunnel place that she goes down even further. And she finds Keith, and Keith's all like, oh my god, something bit me. Also, there's these cages that they find. One of them has a bucket in it too. Keith's like, oh my god, something bit me. We gotta get the fuck out of here. Yada yada. Like he's like lost essentially. And then there's this old ass naked lady who finds them. He's freaking out. She grabs his head and just fucking smashes it into the wall. And as cool as it looks, it was just so fucking funny for some reason because it just wasn't scary. That's supposed to be a very scary moment. I laughed. I just thought it was kind of funny. I mean, it looked cool though. It looked kind of convincing. But like this old, decrepit fucking lady just somehow is able to kill Keith like that. Like how he wasn't able to defend himself or something. I don't know. It's just funny as shit. And then we cut to like some scene. We cut to another scene with Justin Long's character, AJ, who's like this film director character. And then we cut, and then this is where the film just fucking dips off for me and becomes so boring and uninteresting. He's accused of rape from this girl he worked on a show with, or like a pilot, and his pilot's not gonna get picked up. And so he goes back to Detroit because he has some land in Detroit. He owns the house that the Airbnb is at. He owns that house. He goes home. He goes there because he wants to like sell those houses for money because he's gonna get fucked over from these lawsuits and stuff. And it turns out he's like, "What the fuck? How the fuck did my place get booked? Like, why? What the fuck?" He doesn't know that it's double booked. He just knows that someone's living there when they shouldn't be. Mainly because the person, I don't know how long Tess has been down there for at this point. But AJ's all like, what the fuck? He calls the real estate place who like, I guess does the Airbnb stuff. And then she goes, oh yeah, it's been a couple weeks since someone last booked there. So I'm assuming Tess has been down there for a couple weeks still. And the AJ stuff takes place a couple weeks after the Airbnb stuff in the first setup. The first act of the film. And so he what the fuck happens? He sees like he sees doors open and he sees stuff like, what the fuck? Someone was sleeping here. Someone went down into the basement. I think he hears a noise, which he goes down into the basement like, okay, what? I have a gun, which he doesn't. All right, I'm gonna kill you guys. Yada yada. And then he finds out that and then he finds the string in the garage. Like, what the fuck? He opens it and he sees the tunnel and he sees the room, and then being the asshole that he is, he goes, hey, can I make the extra square footage in this place that I did not know about? Can I use it for more profit for my estate? And he uses this fucking he uses the most unrealistic measuring tape ever to measure all these places. He's not questioning the fact that there's a camera and a bucket and a bed in this house. And clearly he knows the place. Clearly he must have looked at this house that stayed nice in this ghetto ass area all these years. How the fuck did he not know that there's a string and a fucking dungeon in this garage? Unless you were just an asshole who just bought it and never cared to use the place. So, anyways, he keeps seeing all these more open doors, and he keeps trying to, okay, how can I profit off of this? And then he sees the naked ass lady, and then he falls into a hole, and then he sees Tess there. Tess, is that her name? Yeah, he sees Tess there, and Tess is all like, hey, she just wants us to be her baby, so don't freak out, or else she'll freak out. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And the old lady is all like, baby, baby. And then she like puts a bottle of milk through the screen in the cage, or the screen in the hole. And then Tess drinks it, and there's like hair on it. It looks disgusting. And she goes, drink it so you don't upset her. And he goes, I don't want to drink it. So the old lady just the old lady takes him out of the hole. And it's like, she jumped in the hole. And then she got them out of this deep ass hole. How? Why? This old decrepit bitch. And there's not like supernatural elements going on in this film. She's just an old fucking lady. I'll talk about that in a minute. Tess escapes, and then AJ is like, what the fuck? Stop. I don't want your titty milk, because she's trying to breastfeed him. And there's this room where this fucking breastfeeding video is being played on this TV, and it just looks disgusting, all this room stuff. And so the Tess escapes, and the bitch tries to get out of there, but she doesn't. And so the guy from earlier is all like, hey, or the guy that chased her into the house, who just said, hey, don't go in that house, rather than, hey, that house is fucked, don't be in this house, let me try to explain myself, instead of being this asshole character who's written for the sake of seeming like a creepy guy in the film, for the sake of all this shit. Instead of trying to explain to her, he just chases her into the house, like, hey, don't go in that house, yada yada. It's supposed to be scary for the film, but I found it just kind of funny. And then he goes, hey, yeah, that bitch has been in the house for years. Come over by the water tower. And she goes, no, there's a guy down there who's probably gonna get killed. I gotta go back and save him. And he's like, nope, we're not going to that house. So she goes to the gas station, gets a phone, calls the cops, and the cops are all like, you got some ID on you? She goes, no, there's this house. And the cops are all like, okay, we'll give you 10 minutes, essentially. So they go to the house, and he goes, yeah, we can't get in the house because it looks like you just broke into the house. So you're lucky we're not going to take you to sleep off your crackhead stuff in downtown. And she's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what the fuck? She's explaining to you that, and even if so, you guys should open an investigation on this house that she broke into. Try to contact the homeowners of this house that she broke into, because she broke the glass in the basement to get out. And so the cops are just like, okay, fuck you, lady, bye. And then they just leave. And so later on in the film, Tess just, what does she do? She breaks the glass to get into the house, to get her keys. And then, I don't know what she tries to do at this point. I think she just wants to like break the basement of the house or something. Because the way she turns to leave, her car's facing this way. The house is this way. And so her car's like that. She goes like this. Rather than just like drive straight if she wants to go get help, she just does this. She turns. She backs up and turns. And then the old bitch is sitting there. Old bitch got out of the house. And so Tess is like, okay, I'm going to ram into you into the house. And then her car just fucks up. Like her car fucking just dies when she runs into the house and runs the old lady over. So yeah, and AJ's down there. He finds another room, and then he finds this guy. Also, we get another flashback, which is filmed in like I don't know if it was. It's presented to us in like a 3:4, like 1:1.19 aspect ratio or something, and it looked like it was filmed on film. It looked colorful enough, and it looked grainy enough, I think. So it looks like it was filmed on film. But we see this old guy who gets sheets and diapers and a baby. He just wants sheets, and he explains to the girl at the grocery store, like, yeah, I just want sheets. I'm having a baby at home, yada yada, and we're gonna have it at home. And she goes, oh, bless your hearts. So she gives him diapers, latex gloves, and a baby of milk, a breastfeeding training video. Yeah. So the guy follows this girl he sees to her house. He pretends to be like a mechanic, electrician guy to look at the place, gets into the house and unlocks one of the windows in the bathroom. So so based on that, he goes in the house, kidnaps her, and we see that the Airbnb house, is his house from the past. So he basically kidnaps the girl, and when he goes into his house after unlocking the latch, and he goes back to his house, and one of his neighbors is like, well, yeah, we're gonna leave this house. This neighborhood's going to shit. How? It looks really nice. So, anyways, he goes back into his house and he goes down the basement, and you hear like a woman scream. So then the AJ character finds the same old man in another fucking room in this creepy ass weird long dungeon maze place. He sees the old man in the place, and there's a bunch of videotapes lined up. AJ puts one in, and he sees that he raped a girl. He's raping a girl basically, because and you see a bunch of videotapes. So he kidnapped and raped a bunch of girls. And fuck, the old man, the old man's asking for stuff on this desk, this nightstand, and AJ gives him it. He's like, "You want water? I don't know what you want." So he puts the desk closer to him, and so he just grabs a gun out and just shoots himself. So I'm like, what the fuck? Why? So AJ grabs the gun. Tess goes down in the basement, I guess trying to look for AJ. And so and when he grabs the gun and goes to escape to shoot the old lady, I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna shoot Tess and kill her. He doesn't kill her, but he shoots her because he hears a noise, and Tess sees like the light that AJ is using, and it was funny as fuck. I'm sorry, I laughed my ass off when he shot her unintentionally. And so Tess is bleeding out, like she's like shot in like the stomach area or something. And so the fact that she stayed alive for the rest of the film is, I think, kind of bullshit. So, anyways, they escape the house, and fuck, man, I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. It sucked. They escape the house. Tess is all like, "Oh, I know where we can go." She goes to the water house. Rather than going to the gas station to ask for help, she goes to the water house, where the old man lives, the old homeless guy lives. Why? You have the gun. AJ has the gun. You can go anywhere you want. You can defend yourself because you have the gun. But the old lady wasn't on the car anymore, so she must have escaped. So yeah, the old man's all like, "Oh yeah, she'll be alive through the night. We'll stay here." And Tess goes, "What makes you think we're safe here?" And the guy goes, "I've been living in this place for 15 years, and that bitch ain't ever coming." And then she just fucking breaks through the fucking wall of the place that they're staying at, and she just fucking rips off the guy's arm, just fucking beats him to death with it. I laughed so fucking hard. That was funny as shit. And so then AJ, being the asshole that he is, leaves first, knowing that Tess is injured. And they're like, "Oh, we can't climb over the fence because of the barbed wire." But earlier there's like a piece of the fence that's cut that they can lift up, and that they went through. They showed us that. Fucking find it. Then they go, "We gotta go up the water tower. We gotta go up the water tower now." And so they get to the water tower, and then Tess is like, AJ, the gun. And he goes, oh, the gun. Yeah, because the bitch is chasing him up the tower now. He goes, oh, the gun. He pulls it out, and then he fumbles it because he's a fucking retard in the script. And he drops it, and then it falls to the ground. All the way on the ground, even though because they're on the top of the water tower. And then the bitch gets up there, and AJ's all like... And there's this thing about the AJ character, because they say he raped the girl, or the report came out that he raped a girl that he worked on the set with, and so he's talking to his friend in the bar. Funny enough, he fucking gets a call from his friend. He goes, "What up, faggot?" or something like that. And it was just funny. Like, come on. And so he fucking calls the guy's like, "What happened? Seriously?" Because I read the website. I read the website, man. And he goes, at first she didn't want to, but then we started fooling around, and then we did it. I'm a persistent guy, and then she wanted to do it. Like, she really wanted to do it. So we don't get like a super definitive answer as to whether or not if he did rape the girl or not. But we're assuming that he did. Because he calls her and he's all like, "I'm sorry if I did something to offend you that night. Call me and I'll say I'm sorry again." Yada yada. So I'm like, yeah, he probably did rape the girl. Yeah. And so there's this thing in the film where he's all like, I want to do good. He wants to help Tess. He's like, I want to do good. I'm a good person that did a bad thing, or I'm a bad person that wants to do a good thing now. And so at the top of the water tower, the old bitch comes up, and he's all like, "Hey, I can get out of here, but you just have to save me some time." So he goes to the old bitch. He goes, "Hey, you want your baby?" And he throws Tess off the building. Tess falls down, and then the most funny shot of the film, the old bitch jumps off and fucking dives toward her in the most fucking funny shot of the movie. And so I'm thinking, okay, she must have caught her and then fucking turned her around, and so she lands on the ground rather than Tess landing on the ground, so that she breaks Tess's fall. To which that happens, AJ goes down, and he's like, "Tess, I didn't think you'd survive that. Oh my god, what happened is you slipped." And he's trying to spin the story to her that she slipped and that he got away, and then like the bitch dove after her so as to not make it seem like he threw her off because he's an asshole. So the bitch wakes up and then fucking gouges his eyes out and just fucking rips his head open in a shot that I guess looks kind of cool and looks kind of gory, but it's just like, it's not scary because the bitch is just an old bitch. And so the bitch is all like, "Bebe, let's get to the house." And Tessa's like, "I can't move, I'm hurt." And so then she grabs the gun and just shoots the bitch, and then she just walks home, and like she just walks away. And that's the end of the movie. Also, the old man, the old homeless guy, was explaining that the old man who was kidnapping and raping all these girls, like, had babies with these girls, and then those babies, he raped those girls as they got older to have babies, and so on and so forth, I guess, until that bitch was all that's left. Yeah. That's Barbarian, and it's probably the biggest piece of shit I've seen in a long time. I'm really sorry. I am, for being so negative, but it is so unintentionally funny, and oh my god. I don't care that it's unpredictable, and that's why people are liking it. It's just really, really fucking stupid. It has a cool setup. Like, I kind of like the first act, at least, because the performances are good. It is a nice setup, even though it is slow as hell. And developing these characters means fucking nothing, I guess. Like, why do we need to develop these characters? They're just... Oh, man. Oh, man. And in like probably 5-8 minutes into the film, there's a very cheap jump scare where the Tess character comes out of like the bathroom or something for the first time when she's in the house, and then the Keith character like taps her on the shoulder as he enters the frame, and there's like a really sharp piece of music and a jump scare and a boom, I was like, fuck you, fuck this movie. So yeah, people are. I think I've been reading reviews and shit. And people are enjoying this film because it's unpredictable, and they say it's scary, and you don't understand what's happening, and they're calling it the best horror film of the year. And like, did you not see Pearl? Did you not see Nope? Or even Bodies, Bodies, Bodies? I'd consider Bodies, Bodies, Bodies a horror. But this Barbarian, you're calling this the best horror film of the year? The scariest movie of the year? This is the funniest movie of the year, unintentionally. I laughed my ass off. Do I regret buying a ticket? Mainly, yes. But it was so fucking enjoyably funny and unintentionally funny and stupid. And I don't care that people are... if people enjoy it, okay. They can enjoy it. That's their... Shut up, damn dog. I'm sorry. If people are enjoying this film, more power to them. But I found this film so dumb and funny and bad, and I was baffled by how bad it is. It's like the director is a troll and is like, let me make the most weird, convoluted script and just fuck with the audience and go, yep, this is scary. I don't know what to say anymore. It was just a very, very stupid, funny as hell movie. Let me just read my quick letterbox, and I'll read my Twitter real quick. My letterbox says, this is easily the worst and funniest film I've seen all year. I don't understand how it has the high ratings on RT. There's no redeeming qualities to it except how unintentionally funny it is at points. Either a D- or an F, but I'm leaning more towards a D- because it at least looks good and has an interesting setup. Now let's look at my Twitter account. On my Twitter account, I said hashtag Barbarian movie with the little icon it has at the end, which is a house, is easily the funniest film I've seen all year. I laughed almost the entire way through. There's almost no redeeming qualities to it, and I'm wondering why and how people enjoy this in an unironic fashion. And then I also said Barbarian movie will do for Airbnb what Jaws did for beaches. So anyways, yeah, I'll say a D- for this movie because it looks good. It has an interesting setup and the performances are enjoyable. But overall, it is the biggest shit show I've seen all year. At least Men, which I didn't like. At least Men has some integrity to it. And at least Jurassic World Dominion was like really, really stupid funny. But this is just bad. So anyways, I guess I'm done. For my 4 reviews. I want to review other films I've seen in the theaters. Howl's Moving Castle. I want that as its own review. And I finally watched Avatar. That was a really cool experience. But so anyways, those are my 4 reviews for the new 2022 films I've seen this year. That being X, Pearl, Don't Worry Darling, and Barbarian. What did you think of these movies? Did you like X? Did you like Pearl? Did you like Don't Worry Darling? And did you like Barbarian? Tell me what you thought about those films. Tell me what you thought about my thoughts. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, all that fun jazz, and I'll be back to you with more enjoyable content like this. And bye.